expert Sleepers. How are you?
Hello, Nick. Nice to see you.
Day 2 of Superbooth.
Day 2 of Superbooth. Early in the morning. Hadn't had coffee yet, so we'll see how this goes.
Nice to see you wearing a coat. It's jolly cold here, but
it's fresh. It's invigorating.
Yes, those are the sort of words I was looking for.
Enjoying it so far.
So, what have you got for us here today?
So what I'm showing today for Superbooth, since NAMM, when last we spoke, I've released new firmware for the Disting, the ever popular Disting. I have officially released now the WAV file playback from SD card, which I was showing at NAMM. I've got 2 of them that are doing it here. This one's got a SD card buried in the back, and this one's got a nifty little extension cable so I can plug it in and out. So what I didn't manage to show before was variable speed playback, so if I just turn this one up.
All of these machines. Alright, so let me reset. All of these machines are let me reset.
So
all
you
of
can
these machines
see
are
variable speed playback of WAV files from an SD card, which is kind of nice. The other new feature I released in the last Disting firmware update is the vocoder mode, which I've got demoing here. I've got this one's playing back a speech sample, which is going into this one, which is the vocoder. If I just turn that one up, and I will just unplug that lead momentarily. So that's the VCO that's providing the carrier signal, and that's providing the voice.
Very Kraftwerkian.
Yeah. So I mean, at the end of it sounds like a vocoder, but as far as I'm aware, there are not many vocoders in Eurorack, and that's just one of the many features of the Disting Mark III now.
Can I just stop you there, just in case people don't know what a Disting is?
The Disting, okay, sorry. The Disting is this. It's a 4 HP multifunction module in Eurorack. The original Disting Mark I had 16 functions which were cleverly encoded in these little hieroglyphics you see on the module. The Disting Mark III came out at the end of the last year and is a bit of a redesign. And now basically the number of functions it has is limited only by my imagination and the space on the card, on the processor, because it's got an SD card slot for firmware updates. And there have been 4 updates since it was released in November, adding new features all the time. So currently this is the huge cheat sheet of functions that it has. The original 16, and then we added some filters and more delay modes, lots of envelope generators now, and quantized CV generators.
So essentially, it'll do whatever you decide you want it to do, because it's completely configurable as a set of I/O.
Yeah, it's a DSP-based CV/audio processor and a little module with some inputs and outputs, and it'll do a whole ton of stuff.
I'd imagine with a whole bank of them, you could almost. With a whole bank of them, you could replace a number of.
Yeah, well, I've got 10 here. I could easily use a few more. I've got. I forget what I've actually done. I've got one of them is just a voice for the instrument here. That's a Disting VCO going into a Disting VCA and an envelope generator. I've got one of these is just an LFO to clock everything else that's tempo related in the rack. Basic stuff like that, all the way up to SD playback and vocoder, which are a bit more sophisticated.
And because it's a very narrow unit as well, it's a lot of utility in such a little space.
It is, absolutely. Just 4 HP and relatively low power consumption now as well in the new version. Got that right down. Some of the more popular modes are in fact audio modes. A lot of people just put it in the rack and use it as a delay, because there are a couple tempo syncable delay modes in there, which are again relatively rare. And in fact everything here is going through. I just turned it down so you could hear the effect of the vocoder, but if I turn them back up.
Right, so you can run.
Can't really hear that necessarily.
No, but so in terms of DSP, I mean, has it got enough DSP to provide kind of a lot real-time audio effects like reverbs, that kind of thing? How far can you go?
Reverb might be pushing it, but it certainly does delays and filters and like I say, vocoders. Yeah, it would be a challenge to do a reverb. Maybe a kind of analog style reverb, which are basically made up of lots of analog delays, that kind of thing. But it's got as well as just the straight delays, I've got a version of the tape delay out of my plug-in product, Augustus Loop. So it's a variable speed tape delay, so you can feed an LFO onto the tape speed and have it wobble up and down, or just pitch shift as you put stuff through it. So it's got enough DSP grunt to do things like that, for sure. Yeah.
So just as a sort of boring details, like you can buy this now, right? And what's the kind of rough retail price for this?
The price? The Disting is selling at I think it's £119. So whatever that equates to in real money.
Highly affordable.
$175 or some euros. Sorry, I have no idea.
That's all right. So do you see the kind of product life really kind of extending because of the fact that you can just really just keep updating the firmware?
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, I definitely don't want to revise the hardware unless I have to for a while. Yeah, there's plenty of space in there for more modes. I've got a list as long as your arm of things that people have requested or that I've thought of that need to go in there. So yeah, for the foreseeable future with that module, I'll be adding more features on firmware updates, for sure.
And I was talking to you on the boat on the way here,
Yeah.
as is the way we arrive, and you were telling me you might have something else that you could show us a little bit of.
Yes, indeed. And I will emphasise that this is a prototype, as you can tell by the fact that half of the jack sockets aren't even there. It's just cardboard. But this is the ES8. What this is intended to be when it's finished, which should be later this year, is a USB 2.0 class compliant audio interface with DC coupled outputs, DC coupled inputs, and ADAT connections. So it's a kind of logical extension of the ES3 idea and ES6 that a lot of people are using nowadays, either for audio or more often for CV generation from laptop, or increasingly now from iOS as well. And the way you use those modules is you plug them in, be it through ADAT or SPDIF, into an audio interface. For example, I've got my Fireface UCX in there, but with the ES8, you'll just be able to take a USB cable and plug it straight into a laptop, or with the little camera connection dongle, plug it straight into iOS. And I can show you that now. If I just pop that in there, pop that into my phone, and I've not really got up to speed with too many apps, but this one's Alm by Tomatica. Just if I can make it work. So hardware output. You see now it just says ES8. Up stereo pair, stereo pair, stereo pair, all the way up. And now it's just, processing audio or CVs. Any app that generates or processes audio or CVs, just plug it straight into the modular.
And that gives you direct, basically control voltage interfacing
direct connection
with the modular.
Absolutely.
For those who don't know, Silent Way in your ES stuff is
Right.
kind of the de facto way, pretty much now, of controlling.
It is, well, yes and no. I mean, yes, it's been my longest running product, and it has been used by many people now to generate CVs on a computer to control hardware. But you've just got to look around Superbooth now. There are lots of players in that market now. Native Instruments with their blocks are doing that. S'mores, Modular.
They're still using your hardware to talk.
They're still using my hardware, but the idea of using software on an iPad or on a computer to directly generate CVs without having any MIDI involved in it whatsoever, it's just straight generation of CVs. Yeah, and they are using my hardware, which is great, but...
I mean, I guess the thing is, a lot of people don't realise you need special audio interfaces that are DC coupled, that are capable of outputting voltage,
which
rather
so
than just...
far, all the recent Moto interfaces have been DC coupled. There are a few others, but even those, the signal range is optimised for audio rather than CV control. So what's always been the case with my modules is that they can span the full modular range of voltages from about plus or minus 10 volts.
And you think this is probably going to be coming out towards the end of the year? Is that your plan?
I'd say more near the middle of the year.
Oh, okay.
I would say that would be my plan. It looks rough and ready, but I've got a lot of it kind of ready on the drawing board. I just need to find some way to make it all fit, because at the moment underneath that small aluminium panel, there's a whole jumble
Giant
of
mainframe
stuff.
computer. Yeah.
Exactly, but I believe it can be made to fit into an 8HP module, so that's the plan for maybe late summer or something.
Thank you very much, Oz.
No worries, thanks for coming.